from Srimad Bhagavatam. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivadadari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivadadari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivadadari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivadadari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Haribol Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Savior of the whole world, Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text number 14. Tasmade kana manasa. Wow, technology, that's pretty amazing. That was really fast. Nice work. Bhagavan Vatam Pati. Srotavaka Kirti Vayascha. Deyaya Pujascha Nityada. Tasmade Kana Manasa. Bhagavan Svatavam Pati. Strotavaya Kirtivayascha. Deyaya Pujascha Nityada. Tasmade Kana Manasa. Bhagavan Svatvatam Patiha. Srotvaya Kirtivayascha. Deyaya Pujas Cha Nityada. Please repeat. Tasmade Kana Manaspa. Bhagavan Svatvatam Pati. Bhagavan Sattvatam Pati. Pujas Yada. Tasmade Kana Manasya. Bhagavan Sattvatam Pati. Jakiti Cha. Deya Puja Cha Nityada. Marikana Manasa. Bhagavan Svatvatam Pati. Savaya Kirtivayascha. Pujas Nityada. Word for word. Tasmat. Therefore. Ekena. By one. Manasa, attention of the mind. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Sattvatam, of the devotees. Pati, protector. Srotvaya, is to be heard. Kirti tatvaya, to be glorified. Cha, and. Dreya, to be remembered. Puja, to be worshipped. Cha, and. Nityada, constantly. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. Please repeat, therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. Purport. If realization of the absolute truth is the ultimate aim of life, it must be carried out by all means. In any one of the above-mentioned castes and orders of life, the four processes, namely glorifying, hearing, remembering, and worshiping, are general occupations. Without these principles of life, no one can exist. Activities of the living being involve engagements in these four different principles of life. Especially in modern society, all activities are more or less dependent on hearing and glorifying. Any man from any social status becomes a well-known man in human society within a very short time if he is simply glorified, truly or falsely, in the daily newspapers. Sometimes political leaders of a particular party are also advertised by newspaper propaganda, and by such a method of glorification, an insignificant man becomes an important man within no time. But such propaganda by false glorification of an unqualified person cannot bring about any good, either for the particular man or for the society. There may be some temporary reactions to such propaganda, but there are no permanent effects. Therefore, such activities are a waste of time. The actual object of glorification is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has created everything manifested before us. We have broadly discussed this fact in our comments on the Jadmadi Ashaya Slok at the beginning of the Bhagavatam. The tendency to glorify others or hear others must be turned to the real object of glorification, the Supreme Being, and that will bring happiness. Om Gana Chimrandasya Jananjanan Salakaya Chakshu Unmilitam Jena Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Visham Shapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Dadanti Svapadantikam. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master is opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto his lotus feet. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Tamal Krishna Goswami Niti Namane Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskatadisha Tarane Vanchakalpatarubhaischa Kripasinuvaseva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Excuse me. Thanks for being here today. Thanks for listening in. If you're listening on the net or some other source, it's so wonderful to get to be here and talk about the Srimad Bhagavatam, the spotless Purana, the knowledge of Krishna. It's so amazing. And what makes it amazing is Prabhupada's purports, right? We can't understand this without the pure devotee explaining it to us. So I got a chance to give class today, and I appreciate that. And I was told, well, there's no set, for Saturdays you can speak on whatever you want to from the Bhagavatam. And I went, oh my God, what do I talk about? It's so hard to pick, And so I've been reading Ishopanishad, Sri Ishopanishad, and just being blown away by Prabhupada's purports. The way he explains things is so amazing. And I don't know if you all have noticed, but it's almost like Prabhupada's purports are distinct for each different scripture that he writes, right? Bhagavad Gita, we read those purports again and again, and every time we read it, there's something new, right? I didn't know Prabhupada said that here. This is amazing. But there's just something about the way the pure devotee will explain things at different times, different places, and there's a little bit different flavor to it, like the language he uses sometimes. And so I've really been drawn into this, particularly the 11th mantra 11, and I wanted to just read a little bit of it because it's so amazing. I actually want to read a lot of it, but I know reading's hard. What I want to get across is this one-pointedness of Krishna consciousness, right? Is anybody here one-pointed in their Krishna consciousness? No, it takes some time. We have times throughout the day where we are one-pointed, right? We chant our rounds, and even within the rounds, there's times that we're more attentive and less attentive, and it's okay to be inattentive. Well, it's not okay, but it's okay when it happens. Just bring your mind back, right? Bring your mind back and try to have that one-pointedness. So throughout the day we can do this. We can have this one-pointedness on Krishna. And really the reason for that is because we're spirit souls, right? We're never going to be happy in being one-pointed on material enjoyment, right? And we can do things one-pointedness materially. In fact, to be successful material, you need to be as focused as you can be, right? And we can accomplish things. If we do that for Krishna, it's devotional service, right? Nimai sitting here. He works for a water district. He does that job for Krishna. You can do your job for Krishna. You can do cooking for Krishna, right? You can dress the deities. It seems a little easier then when you're with the deities, right? You're dressing, okay, I'm focused on Krishna. But how do we focus on Krishna during the day? I mean, it's hard, right? Because we get wrapped up in all the difficulties of our job, family, things going on. But that's when we have to remember Krishna. We have to come back to the one-pointedness of Krishna and remember that we are spirit souls. Our nature is spiritual, and we will never be happy in the material world trying to enjoy ourselves. And so we've all gotten a taste, right, for the spiritual enjoyment that comes from being with each other and chanting Hare Krishna and reading these scriptures and taking prasadam and worshiping Srila Prabhupada, worshiping Krishna. And it's so amazing. The knowledge is so incredible how it comes to us. And from doing our sadhana, chanting, remembering Krishna, chanting his names, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Padasevanam, we purify ourselves through this process so that slowly over time, we become more purified. But let's read a little bit from Mantra 11 of the Sri Ishopanishad. I'm just going to do the translation. Only one who can learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. Okay, you might be hearing this for the first time, or you haven't read it in a while, but it's interesting how the words describe things. It's a little bit different from what we're used to. One who can learn the process of nescience and that of transcendental knowledge side by side. Wow, are we supposed to know about nescience? Yeah, because we're in it, right? We should identify it in ourselves and our tendency to be attracted to it. And side by side, if we study it, along with transcendental knowledge, we can transcend the influence of repeated birth and death. That's the real problem that we have, and the whole world has, right? Constant birth, old age, disease, and death. And they get to the end of life, and people are befuddled, right? They don't have a clue. They say, God doesn't exist. I don't know where I'm going. I think it's all void, I don't know what's going to happen. I think this is it. This was my last life, and now I'm old, and so I'm just going to die, and nothing's after this. And in fact, if people get just a little bit of this knowledge, that can help them from that fear of death, that they'll know, wait a minute, someone told me about reincarnation. And how could all of this come about unless there was God, right? We hear that. Prabhupada said that in the purport, right? He said that, how can people think that all this can be manifest in front of them? Krishna alone has manifest. He has created everything manifested before us. Krishna's created all of it. And in the purport, of course, he describes, we're not supposed to glorify other material persons, even if they're big shots, they're presidents, they're rock stars, right? We're not here to glorify those persons. Prabhupada says it is so insignificant, and and that's also, I felt, when Prabhupada said that, also makes you feel good, right? It's enlivening to think that the craziness of the material world isn't going to be that bad, because it's always like this, right? There's wars, there's famine, there's difficulties. But those are things that karmically are happening to people. And so we feel bad about it. We'd like to see it improved. But, the leaders we have are all Shudras, right? None of them have been trained to be proper leaders. And only once in a while do you get lucky, and you get someone like, Abraham Lincoln, maybe? That's really a good person and can lead the nation in such a way. So mostly we have these really, pretty much political leaders who, they just get glorified by newspapers, and they become an important man within no time. But just in the same way they become important in no time, they also become unimportant in no time, right? You hear about a politician, one day they're elected, the next day they're out, you never hear from them again, right? And so this temporariness of the material nature, this propaganda, there are no permanent effects, and so it's just a waste of time. The actual object of glorification is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's created everything in front of us. So we have to tap down the tendency to glorify others. And, it's easy to fall into that. I talk about politics all the time, right? Criticize this, glorify that, criticize this, glorify that. It's a waste of time. The tendency to glorify others or hear others must be turned to the real object of glorification. Who's the real object of glorification? Krishna, Jais, the Supreme Being. The supreme absolute truth is Krishna. And he's standing right here. Radha Kalachandji. The fullness of the Godhead is here. Is he male? Is he female? He's both, right? And the personality of Krishna. I was thinking when I was taking darshan, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 sets of deities. There's 3 Radha Krishna. There's Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra Devi, and there's Gaura Nitai. And they're all Krishna. I remember some friends came and they took darshan at the temple, and they called the deities dolls. They said they're dolls. And I thought, boy, if you only ever see them as dolls, that's all they'll ever be to you, right? If you just see him as stone, you just see him as a mannequin, you see him as a statue, that's all he'll be to you. But if you see God, and why not? He's beautiful. He emotes. He's spiritual. You can go on the altar and you can worship him. And that's not the same as cleaning your house, is it? You can get a Coke bottle and you can dress it up, paint a smile on it, It's not going to bring you the same satisfaction you feel when you're under disciplic order, right? You have a guru, you're chanting your rounds, and you do deity worship under the order of the spiritual master. Prabhupada has ordered this. I want there to be temples. I want there to be beautiful deity worship. Because when people come in, they'll go, oh my God, look at this. Yeah, and you say, yeah, it is God. He's stunning. Look at Radharani. She's so beautiful. They're so happy together, right? And sometimes, then you go, well, how come there's others? There's other Radha Krishna? Oh, yeah, there's Chota Radha Kalachandji are there. Krishna can have more than one form. No, God's just an old man with a beard in heaven, right? No, he's a beautiful, youthful, incredible person, right? He can't even be described. If Krishna came into the room, even if you weren't a devotee, let's say if Krishna appeared on the street in Dallas, they're having a parade, people would flip out, right? They wouldn't know what to do, first off, but they would be affected they would begin to yell and they'd be happy and they'd cry and they'd think of that. If Krishna just appeared, the effect it would have. But Krishna's in everybody's heart, so he's trying to help everybody. But he's not going to appear like that until, we get a little knowledge and we get a little intelligence, right? Say, oh, I want to know about God. So Krishna says, okay, get Bhagavad Gita, get Sri Ishopanishad. And here you go. The first step in God consciousness is, what's the undifferentiated oneness, blissful Brahman, Brahmajyoti? Who's addicted to that? The yogis, right? The meditators. I have friends, they meditate, close your eyes. They can feel it. They can see it, and they get addicted to that feeling. They're really not seeing it, right? They're getting like a shadow of it, but it's very intoxicating. It's very enjoyable. And they think, this is it. I just want to trust all I can see. This is what I see when I meditate. This is God. And there's no person in it, right? There's no personality to it. So the next step, you go, wait a minute. You get lonely, right? They get lonely. They meditate for a long time. They want association. And then they learn, wait, the next step is Paramatma, right? Krishna is in your heart. Super soul. Our soul's in our heart. And it's a little tiny spark, right? Next to us is Krishna's expansion as super soul. Amazing. Krishna's expanded himself into every living being. And he goes with the living being, with the soul. Whatever body the soul goes into, Krishna's there as super soul. Amazing, isn't it? Excuse me. Then what's the topmost? Bhagavan. Krishna's a person. And look at the altar. There's so many personalities of Krishna. So many. And then when you start to read about it and you learn, you go, wow, this is amazing. There's Radha Krishna. They're in the spiritual world. They're in Goloka Vrindavan. And they're not just in the Vaikuntha. They're in Goloka part of Vaikuntha, right? The planet of cows. Wow. Goloka. Then you have Radha Govinda. How did Radha Govinda come here? Why are they here? Why are they separate? Why is there another set of deities? Does everybody know there are festival deities? There are a small set of deities that can come off the altar when they want to go out. Sometimes Krishna wants to come off the altar, and not only Jagannath, right? Jagannath's not the only one that comes off the altar. Jagannath likes to ride in a car, right? He likes to come off the altar, and they have pastimes. Well, Radha Govinda, they want to come off the altar too. When they come out for our boat festival, is everybody here for that? Yeah, we can put them on a palanquin. We can do Harinam with them. And when you bring them, boom, the energy's going out. So there's small deities that can be taken out for festivals, festival deities. And they were installed after Chotarada Kalachandji left Dallas. In the late 70s, the devotee that was maintaining it was sort of in charge of Dallas. They had a change in leadership, and that devotee took those deities. He took Chotarada Kalachandji, these deities right here, took them to Gita Nagari. They ended up in Gita Nagari. Then for some years they were worshipped there, and then they came back. Oh my God. It was incredible. We couldn't believe it. Chotarada Kalachandji came back. So they're here. And then, of course, there's Tulsi's on the altar. Another personality, right? Basically an expansion of Radharani, right? The topmost devotee. Krishna won't accept anything without Tulsi on it, right? But how can it be the Godhead can have these distinct personalities and still be the Godhead? Achinta Beta Beta Tattva, right? He can do it. I'm not God. I can't expand myself. I can't be, both spiritual and material, right? Although we're a mix of those things. But, we don't have the spiritual power. Krishna is not a one-dimensional object. He's a multifaceted diamond. Have you ever seen a diamond or a jewel with lots of cuts on it? And you can't even imagine how many different facets there are to it, and it shines in all different directions because when the light hits it, it pops out. That's Krishna. He's so multifaceted, so beautiful. And this is difficult for, Kali Yuga Vasis like me to, how can something be that variegated? How can there, well, just look at each one of us. Are any of us the same? Have you ever met anybody that looked exactly like you? Everybody calls it a doppelganger, right? There's somebody out there that looks a little bit like you, right? But they're not exactly like you. If you look at them, right? Like people who imitate celebrities, like the Queen of England. There's a lady, famous lady, she impersonates the Queen of England. She looks a lot like her, but not exactly. And can you imagine? In the whole world, billions of people, there's not two people that look alike? Everyone's different. Everyone's unique and special, and every soul is unique and special. And Krishna wants us to come back and enjoy the full blessings of immortality. Wow. Interesting. You don't often see, Prabhupada got right to the point, usually in Gita and other books, going back to Godhead. You're eternal. Immortality is not used as much, right? That word. Immortality is generally sort of because I think there's a fruitive, aspect to it. Sort of like, yeah, you an anti-death, yeah. And Hiranyakashipu was that way. He wanted immortality, right? But he wanted it materially. And Lord Brahma says, I can't give that to you. I don't have immortality. But so Hiranyakashipu thinks up this far out thing that here's how I'm gonna become immortal. No one can kill me, demigod nor man. And so what happens to Hiranyakashipu? Thwarted. Hiranyakashipu means gold and beds, right? This is what Hiranyakashipu wanted to enjoy for all eternity. Money and women. That's what he wanted to enjoy. Krishna's, that's not going to work, So Krishna appears as incredible, half man, half lion, Lord Nrsingadev. And he kills Hiranyakashipu, not with a weapon, not outside, not inside, It's so wonderful. And so these pastimes and these details about Krishna are how we can focus on the spiritual. This is how we can become one-pointed in our Krishna consciousness, in our determination, by remembering these wonderful pastimes and how special and unique it is in how Krishna does things. What inspired Hiranyakashipu to want this? What gave him the ability to do these horrible tapasya, right? These austerities. Fire shot from his head when he was done. Ants ate his whole body. He kept his life airs in his bones, for thousands and thousands of years. And finally he got the result of his tapasya, emperor of the whole universe. Lord Brahma had to come down and say, what do you want? It's amazing. So these stories are there. And I thought, this is how we can also understand Radha Damodar Leela, that we are really suffering every day, right? Think about it. It's difficult. Our bodies are always giving us trouble. And if it's not our bodies, what's up here, right? That's even worse for me. Some others can testify, right? And then there's other living entities, right? They're giving us a hassle. Bosses, people driving around, traffic, right? And so, we've got to remember that there is a reason. There's a reason we're suffering in the material world, because it's not not the place that's meant for us to be, right? We're a spirit soul. We're in a material body. We know the body's temporary. We see people dying around us all the time. We see dead animals. We see trees falling over dead. It's going to happen. It's going to happen to us. So, keeping that in mind, we can do our sadhana. We can do our activities of our day, remembering that we're really spirit souls. And then we've just had Kartik, right? It just ended last night. We had Tulsi Shalagram wedding, and for a month, we all came together at night, and we all sang about the pastimes of Krishna, his childhood pastimes, just so beautiful. We offer a light, in honor of that. Say, Lord, I want to be part of this, right? I mean, what's the conclusion of the Radha Damodar Leela? I want to be there. I want to be in this. I want to see baby Krishna, right? Can you imagine seeing baby Krishna? I mean, Krishna as a baby. Just think of how beautiful babies are to start with, right? Little children, they're so cute. They run around. The little things they do are so cute. Your daughter, she's so cute. They're so funny, and you're like, you feel elated to see these kids, and think if Krishna did that. So beautiful, so amazing. Krishna as a little kid, and look, he's being naughty. He's always naughty, right? He's breaking pots of butter. He's being demanding. He's spoiled. He gets mad at his mom. She won't nurse him. She goes to take a pot of milk off the stove because it's boiling over. He gets mad, right? He breaks a pot of butter. The monkeys come and eat it. He runs away. And, of course, he's just run through the butter, right? So his footsteps are right there, so she can chase him, know exactly where he went, right? And what does she do first? She shows him a stick. Ooh, baby Krishna got really scared at the stick, so she throws the stick away, says, what can I do? How can I chastise my son? I don't want him to be like this. He goes to other people's houses, and he pinches the babies, and he urinates on the floor, and he steals their butter and milk products. I gotta be a mom. She's not thinking this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. She's like, this is my child. So she ties him up, and Krishna allows it only why? Why does Krishna allow Yashoda to tie him up? Because of her love. Yeah, only reason. And Krishna watches her for a long time. He won't give enough rope, right? She becomes frazzled. Her hair is falling down. She's sweating. She's upset. Why this child is only this big? Why can't I tie him with the rope? We have a lot of rope. We're cow herders. I have a pile of rope here, and as much as I put around him, it doesn't tie him down. Finally, he goes, Krishna says, oh, you want to tie me? Okay. For you, I'll do it. Right? And who's the only other person who can untie him? Someone else who has the same love can untie Krishna. So in this case, it was Nanda. Nanda does it. Because does everybody know the story what happens after? When the trees come down, right? The two personalities come out and they worship baby Krishna. And then they depart, right? And the trees are there. The Brijbasis are there. These were not small trees. And they fell down right next to Krishna. And baby Krishna's right there. Yashoda's upset. Nanda Braj is upset. How did this happen? My child, he could have been hurt by these trees. Who did this? And he sees he's tied up to this grinding mortar, and the grinding mortar was pulled, and that pulled the trees down. So he's like, who's responsible? And of course, Yashoda is beside herself already, right? With fear and worry, and what did she do, and why did she do it? Now she's feeling like, oh God, I was trying to show love and chastise my child a little bit, and look what happened. So Krishna throws Yashoda into this pit, just a firestorm of worry and sadness. And Nanda picks up Krishna and Balaram, and everyone's very, 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 very grave. They're very grave because this has happened. So the whole town of Vrindavan, everyone comes, everyone's very quiet. And no one cooks or eats or does anything. They're all just looking, and because this is something that Krishna was almost injured, maybe killed. So they're all everyone's upset. Everyone's very, very grave. So Nanda picks up Krishna and Balaram, and he takes them somewhere, and he just holds them, And so devotees try to cook and bring it to him, and Krishna turns down sweets and turns down foodstuffs and says, no, I won't eat anything. They said, what will you eat? And he says, only what my pa makes. Only what pa makes. Only what Nanda Braj will make for me. We're fine. And then Yashoda, of course, she's cooking up a storm. She wants to feed baby Krishna. Baby Krishna won't eat my offering? She's like even more flipped out. She's beside herself with crying. And, they're like, she goes and wants to give Krishna some breast milk, and he refuses. He turns away from his mother. Oh, Yashoda's like totally heartbroken. So what happens? She becomes comatose practically. She's crying, and she's getting ready to leave her body because she can't be with baby Krishna. So Rohini, Balaram's mother, other ladies come, and they tell baby Krishna, they say, this was after some time, baby Krishna, if you don't come now, your mother is going to leave her body. She can't bear to live without you. And so Krishna hears that, and he cries, and he jumps up and he runs to Yashoda, right? And she hugs him, and so, wow. But what a heavy, heavy reaction. Is this what we get if we join Krishna's pastimes? Is it going to be that hard? Well, even in this lifetime, they say the hardest pain you can suffer is the loss of a child. There's nothing harder. So, materially, but if you do it spiritually, if you were to have baby Krishna's association and lose it and suffer, it's spiritual. So it's actually not unpleasant the way material suffering is unpleasant, right? In Vaikuntha and within Krishna's eternal pastimes, there is separation. So Yashoda was separated, and she was going to leave her body, but she doesn't have a body to leave, right? She's a spiritual personality. She's spirit. She's made of Sachit Ananda Vigraha. She's like her son. She's made of eternity, knowledge, and bliss because Yashoda didn't take a material form here, right? They're spiritual, eternal associates of the Lord. But it's part of the pastimes. There's a sense Yashoda's gonna die, so baby Krishna runs to her. For the enjoyment. That's what's so amazing about it. It's all for the enjoyment of Krishna. Krishna enjoys this. He wants to see the mother. He wants to have his mother's embrace after he's told her, no, I want to stay away from you, right? This is amazing, right? He wants our embrace after we told him, I want to stay away from you, right? What have we done? We've come to the material world. We said, I don't want you, Krishna. Get me out of Vaikuntha. Send me to that material world. I heard about it. I'm going to try to enjoy myself. And then I'll come back. But till then, give me my money. Send me down there. Krishna says, sure. Here's a little money. Here's a little karma. You're going to be set up as Brahma, right? When you first come in, you're going to have a good time. It's going to be a big shot. And then you fall down, right? And every loathsome horrible birth that you can take, we've all taken, right? Oh, gosh, what the price we paid, you know. And then, you know, we've got to remember who, you know, we want to go back to the spiritual world. We want to go back home, back to Godhead. And the corollary story or the concept in the Bible is the prodigal son. I don't know if anybody studied the Bible in a Christian background. You know, the prodigal son, his father's very wealthy, has a beautiful land and wealth, and he takes his inheritance, said, Father, I want my inheritance. I'm going to move to the city, wine, women, and song. He's bereft of money in a short time. He's in the gutter. You know, he'd be happy to eat the food that his pigs eat, right? That his father's pigs eat. So he goes back and says, Father, I'm not worthy, but please let me just eat what the hogs eat. You know, let me eat the table scraps. You know, I'll be happy for that, because what I was suffering so much in the city, you know, and that's us. You know, once we realize it, you know, we're you know, what we're eating, you know, well, we're eating prasadam. Devotees are different. But other people, what are they eating? You know, they eat meat, horrible stuff, right? Terrible things. And you're getting so much karma. They can never get out of that cycle, birth, old age, disease, and death. And all the animal slaughter, why do you think there's war? Very simple. There has to be karma. There has to be karma for so many animals being killed. That's why there's wars. You stop the animal slaughter, you know, you don't need the wars. So the prodigal son comes back and he says, Father, just let me live with the pigs and live in the barn and eat what they eat. And he says, what are you talking about? You're my beloved son. You've come back from the dead. We thought you were dead, and you've come back from the dead. And there's more rejoicing. There's so much rejoicing. There's more rejoicing in heaven over the one soul that comes back than all the souls that stayed, right? One of the sons of the father of the prodigal sons, the father says, Father, you know, here you go. You know, I've been with you all this time, and I never left, and I didn't take my money and go do bad things. And this guy comes back, and you welcome him like this? And he said, yes, because he was lost. He was gone. He was dead. But he's come back. So we must rejoice, because he's realized no fun in that, right? That's going to be us when we go back home, back to Godhead. No fun down there. I didn't want to think of the material world, you know. You're in Krishna's pastimes, right? That's all you want to enjoy. So it's 8:30. I was going to read some more, but I didn't get to it. Sorry about that. Any comments, questions, discussion? Does anybody feel let down after Kartik? Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. You can feel it. So then I think it's, you know, it's up to us to like do it ourselves kind of thing. Internally, go internal and do more, read more, chant, associate with each other. Yeah. Because it's so nice. You come together every night, you know, and chant that prayer. And Kartik is such a wonderful time. And Krishna loves this time of year. You know, it gets cooler, right? And the leaves change colors. Krishna loves colors. And so nice for us. Anything we look at, we can remember Krishna's behind it, right? And so now we can remember that when Krishna eats something and we get it, it's prasadam, right? It's mercy. When you only eat Krishna prasadam, your mind can become purified, right? If you eat things that aren't offered, you become wicked. Your mind becomes wicked. The consciousness of the people that cook, it goes into it. Ooh, scary. On that note, thank you all again for being here. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.